Future Survivor should definitely do Democrats versus Republicans. I just think that would be so entertaining. I feel like the entire country would want to watch. I think another generation one would be interesting with Gen Z this time. And I also would love the idea of coasts or different places in the country, just because the United States of America has a sense of togetherness, but also has all these really interesting different regions, and I'd love to see that brought out into a theme.
People have talked about it, but I think like a Gen Z versus millennials versus Gen X, like incorporating Gen Z into would be really cool.
All right, so I'm gonna take it old school. I love some of the old school challenges, so I want to do a combination of both. I want to do a gross eating challenge while standing on a perch and seeing how long people last standing on the perch while eating gross things.
I have been saying to my husband that I think a new theme on Survivor should be the first ones out, because we never really get to know the first people out. And now that I've been in the process of playing the game, I can see that there's so many different components as to why that person could be out. Like, could have happened like pre-game or something like that, right? So it would be cool if we could have the first out, some of the best first people out. That would be a good season.
Maybe half the contestants are married and half of them are single. It's sort of interesting as I look around these days and all of my competitors. I'm not noticing a lot of wedding bands, and I wonder how that will affect my gameplay. I am married, and there are a lot of young single people out here. So it's maybe that could be an interesting, like, married versus single people.
Husbands against wives. I think that'd be a great one. If you want some good drama and some good fireworks, it'll definitely be entertaining. That's for darn sure. Try voting your wife off. See what happens.
A tribe swap, but it's schoolyard style. So you have luck of the draw, either 2 or 3 captains that are randomly drawn, and they have to take turns picking their new tribes for the swap. Meaning that, allegiances and preferences for who you want to work with are brought to the forefront, and there's no hiding it. So if you're at the bottom of your alliance, you're gonna find out, and it would really create a lot of chaos, and I think that would be so entertaining.
I think a future season of Survivor should do old school players versus new school players and really hit the two worlds colliding into one epic blowout. And hopefully this time the old schoolers will win.
All right, here's the new twist. There's another island that the other team doesn't know about, and it's the runner-up Survivor. Everybody that gets kicked off runs for second place, and there's a jackpot of $500,000.
A twist, which I think would be really cool. It's going to be a tribe twist, for lack of a better term. I call it Survivor, the freaks versus the geeks, right? So you get the people who are like weirdos and you get them on one tribe, right? Then you get the people who are nerds and you get them on one tribe. Then you get the people who are like popular and you get them on one tribe. So hopefully it's not too close to brains versus beauty versus brawn, but I think it'd be really cool to get like those three like social like groups in and see who really prevails in the end.
In the old Goosebumps books, how you can decide which avenue you wanted to take of where the story would go. And I don't know if that's what's going to be like now, but if there was a way that you could decide how you wanted the next few days would go of the game, whether you wanted it to be in this direction or in this direction, and then that would control the way that the game has to be played for that amount of time until you win. If you win individually or the team wins, they can decide of which way they want to steer the game, which, you know, it can go either way for how you choose. So that would be really cool, where you get to change the avenue of what the rules are, what you get to do as the game goes on.
It's high time for a Survivor Olympics. We need to have a US versus Australia versus New Zealand versus South Africa Survivor season. The only reason that I think this hasn't happened yet has to be lawyers. And I can tell you, lawyers as one, we can make a lot of good things happen and we can prevent a lot of good things from happening. But the solution to this, so that we can get this season, is we have to get the CBS lawyers in the room with the lawyers at whatever like affiliate there is in Australia, CBS, or New Zealand, whatever. And let's get the 4 representatives of New Zealand Survivor, the 4 representatives of Australian Survivor, the 4 from the US, the 4 from South Africa, and let's have a battle royale and like see what happens when you mix not just people from different walks of life, but people from different countries. I would love that. And I would love to do it because I love America and I would love to represent America. So I'm also self-interestedly pitching this idea.
Bringing old survivors, not necessarily winners, but old survivors back. A little bit like Island of the Idols, but actually having them camped out somewhere, and everyone gets one pass where they get at some point in their game to go and talk with and get advice from one of the old Survivor players. And once you use it, it's done. And if you don't use it, it's gone. With that, because I've really thought about that, with that you have those returning survivors, that whatever you want to call them, mentors, that they actually get to pick the survivors that play. So that they do the casting essentially, like whatever our tryouts are, they get to watch us in action, and then they get to pick who's going to be in the game and then serve as the mentor or whatever.
If I had to think of a twist, I would say it would have to be a mix between Redemption Island and Island of Extinction. And I say that because people who come out to play this game, we give up so much, we sacrifice so much to get out here, we're so excited. And when you're voted out and it's like, there's nothing left, there's nothing more you can do, it's a bummer. And so, not that I know from personal experience, but I think that twist would have to be like some kind of way to allow someone a second chance to get back in the game, but maybe not quite Edge of Extinction when it's so late in the game that they can come back in, and maybe it's not multiple opportunities, maybe it's just one. So probably something along those lines.
I think that the 50-50 coin that they added in Winners at War was an interesting one. Now it is just a worse idol basically, but I think that there is some room for them to take that 50-50 coin and make it a more interesting advantage. The way that I think it could work is, let's say that you can use the 50-50 coin up to say 3 times during a tribal council. And let's say it expires at like final 8 or something. So you're not getting something where like everyone's safe. But if the 50-50 coin could be used up to 3 times, you could potentially be saving up to 3 allies. But let's say that you're safe, and then you get another safe, and then you go for that 3rd time and it's tails. Now all of a sudden everyone is unsafe. And everyone loses at that point, or everyone who was safe is now done. So I think that would be a fun way to kind of add a level of calculated risk in, and then all of a sudden your allies looking at you like, why aren't you going to try to save me? But you're thinking like, well, I already got my safety. Do I really want them to be safe too?
One of the things I would love to see is like an all-female or all-male survivor. Because I think when you put the different sexes together, sometimes men play off women, chivalry and all this nonsense sometimes. But I think when you have the same sexes that are playing together, however you identify yourself, just playing together, I think that would be a very, very interesting take on Survivor. Not to mention, it would. I think it would make for great TV to see, all this, just the same sex playing against each other in different challenges that can be either puzzles or strength challenges or swimming challenges, those kind of things. I think it would be very interesting to see. I've always thought that they should do an all female or all male Survivor.
I think maybe doing a different kind of generations again, but not doing Gen X and Millennials, but switching it up and doing a different, variant. I think it would be fun to watch, because that was probably one of my favorite seasons. To see that they were completely different, but when they merged, they worked so well together with a little bit of Gen X and a little bit of Millennial. It was the perfect vibe. So I think if we did that again, but with different ages, I think would be great.
Well, here's a fun fact. Okay, so we're around people before the game starts, not allowed to talk, obviously. But at first glance, my heart stopped when I saw one of the people, because I thought it was one of my ex-boyfriends, okay? Literally, like, after this is all over, I'll pull a picture of that person and the ex, and you guys are gonna think the same thing. Like, how is that not the same person? I had to do like a triple take, not even just a double take, a triple take, because I was like,
how is my ex here? Like, how did they not figure out the lines there? So I was like, oh my gosh, is it like the twist is like you and the other tribe is your exes, or like you have to work with them? What is that? Luckily, it ended up not being my ex. But then I was like, holy crap, that would actually be an interesting twist, like an interesting theme, would to be you and your exes on the same tribe. We'll see.